Okay. Hello guys, welcome to the first episode of platformers in Scratch. And today I'll be running through jump motion as well as horizontal motion. So if you take a look, obviously we don't want our sprites to move like the 1900s like Mario games and like really old games like where it stutters, but we want fluid motion that is smooth like modern games. So for our objective today, we will be trying to build an engine similar to this. So like you see like the cat can jump around, and whenever it stops, it doesn't stop abruptly, but it stops with a slide. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I'll explain the mechanics. So obviously, when we click the green flag, then the cat will always return to its original position in the middle. And and in the forever loop, there is a block called cat physics. So cat physics is basically a custom block that I made, where you can make a custom block under my blocks, and you can click make a block. And using the custom blocks, you can it's essentially shorten up code. And so, for example, like let's see here that this whole code will not fit out. Will be able to be condensed into one block to be run by the forever code. Okay, so let's get to horizontal motion. So this part is the part of the code that does the horizontal motion. So if we have right arrow or key D, which is basically one of the most common controls for games, then it says set x speed to 10. So x speed is something called a variable. A variable is a element in programming where it stores data, and you can manipulate it so that any value that you enter can be enter into like a function can be changed. For instance, if I have this block move 10 steps, then it will always move 10 steps. But the problem is, you will never be able to move 20 steps using the same block. You will have to retype. But when you're running the code, you can't really retype your blocks. However, if you have a variable inside, like I have changed x by x speed, then by changing the variable's amount, you can change how much you move. So basically, when you press the right arrow, then you will set x speed to 10. And when you press a left arrow, then you will go opposite. So you'll set x speed to minus 10. And then you basically just change your x position, which is the horizontal position, by the amount of the variable. And with this, you can create movement. However, we also have a problem, which is basically it doesn't really stop abruptly, and so you need to make sure we need to figure out a method to make it stop naturally. And how we do this is we set x speed to 8/10 of the original x speed. So for example, if you have x speed equals 10, then that will mean that 10 will go to 8, and then 8 will go to 6.4, and so on. So if you see, whenever we multiply 0.8 to the original variable, it will continuously decrease and until it goes so small that it just basically becomes 0. So what happens when it becomes 0? Well, your cat stops. So if you run the code again, we can see that the cat moves and the cat stops. You can see that it doesn't really stop abruptly. It does quite a bit, but you can see at least it has some connotation of a slide. Then, how will we be able to control how much it slides? Because we don't. Sometimes we want our character to slide a lot so that it makes the game more difficult. And you can adjust it by making the value really close to 1. Let's say like instead of 0.8, we input 0.9. Then if you run the code again, we can see unlike last time, cat moves much further by one press, just because it slides by a larger amount. Okay, so back to 0.8. Got it. Okay, so this is it for horizontal motion. And now we will be taking this block aside, and we'll be working on our jump mechanic. Okay, so this is going to be a bit complicated, so just hear me through, and I'll explain my best to show how jumping might work. Okay, so we change y by y speed. So obviously when we jump, well, we fall to the ground. We're not birds, and I don't think a cat is a bird as well. So we can assume that whenever a cat jumps, the cat will fall to the ground. Now, but we can't really drill through the ground either, and the cat can't, so because like there is no hole here. So the cat needs to stop when it touches the color black. So if the cat touches the color black, then it will basically reverse its falling speed. So whenever it falls, then it will kind of penetrate the ground, right? So it will come back, will pop back up, and then you will basically negate the speed. So it basically you're not moving anymore. However, in this case, when you're touching the ground, then you can bend your knees and jump, right? In real life, like similarly, if you're touching the ground as the cat, and then you press the up arrow or the W key, this is how you do it. Like if key up arrow pressed or key W pressed, and your speed up is 0, which basically we defined above, then we can set the y speed to 15. Now, what does that mean? That means that depending on the y speed, like the cow will be able to move up. However, now we need to come down someday, right? So that's why when the cat is not touching the color black, it will have to decrease. It will have to basically make the speed of the cat point downwards. So what that means is where the cat is here, the cat will have to kind of move down, 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 down. Now, if experiencing any motion in real life, we can see that when something starts to fall, it kind of starts out slow, but when it really comes down, it comes out really fast, right? That's why we don't have a constant y speed. We have a y speed that can increment, which is basically increase, to accommodate for the for like our purposes. So if we press this, we can see obviously it's touching color black right now, so it's not doing anything. Like y speed is 0, so well the cat is not moving. But let's say obviously it's touching the color black, or y speed is 0, right? So what will happen when we press the up arrow? The cat will jump, and it will come down. So we can see that when the cat jumps, and then at its maximum height, when it starts to fall slowly, but then it really comes down faster and faster. And this is because if we see our variable here, we can see when it presses up, it was 15, and then it comes down. So the y speed, if you notice it quickly, it starts from -1 to minus all the way to like -12, and we can see that obviously like when you're moving 12 steps, that's much greater than 1. So like you can have a jump mechanic like this. Now, if we combine both codes, then we can create a function for the cat to move around with smooth jumping and smooth moving. So we can have jump, you can move while jumping, and you can basically jump and it will basically stay on the ground. So for the next screencast, I will be covering how to like overcome obstacles and how to double jump, because like obviously in a game it's not really much fun if you're not able to double jump or if you're not able to do things like that. Okay, then this was the first episode, part 1 of Platform Physics in Scratch, and thank you.